Good morning, Solar Warrior Tribe, Powur Hitters, and friends. I don't know if you realize this, but it is a pretty special week for those of us in the solar industry. 60 years ago this week, the modern solar cell came into being. There is a popular science article that came out that I will post into the chat if you would like to have access to that and maybe even use it on your social media. So special week for us, especially for those, those homeowners who think that solar is really something new, some newfangled technology gadget thing, when it's really not. It's been around for a long time. And evidence of that is Chris Eversberg, who has been in solar for over 200 years. Count Dracula converted him to clean energy quite some time ago. Now, but Chris has been in solar for 30 something years. So it is definitely not something new that the Democrats invented recently. Sorry for the political commentary there. So today we are holding a solar sales roundtable with some of our Powur mentors and leaders. I'll be asking questions about selling solar, and our Solar Pro panelists will be answering. We'll introduce them here in just a little bit. But I had some housekeeping announcements, and Jonathan, if there's anything that you want to jump in and add here as far as an announcement or things that people should know, you're welcome to. We have 4 days left in our Earth Month incentive customer promotion. So we have until midnight, Saturday night, Pacific time, for a homeowner to sign a contract and still get the Earth Month incentive promotion. So that's where we cover their payments for 12, 18, or 36 months. So the homeowner would get, if you don't know by now, the homeowner would get a check after installation that would cover their payments for that time period based on what financing product they select. And in the chat, I will post information about that. But first of all, Jonathan, anything that you want to mention?
Yeah, real quick, Tom, kind of just to transition to success stories. A lot of us were at SolarCon in Salt Lake, and it was a great event, 3-day event. We'll be looking forward to next year's event in San Diego. Powur's going to support it and get behind it fully. But a lot of us did go to Salt Lake. Great positivity from the industry regarding Powur. People looking for other options. There was networking, there was education. Just a friendly reminder to go to every live event you can, coming up June 4th, Dallas in July. And that's really all I wanted to share. It was an awesome event. We're going to have better events coming, soon. And then I'm just excited for today. Corey Ventura is under the weather, so I wish him well. He'll get better, but we have, 5 other amazing leaders today. So thank you, Tom, as always.
Thanks, Jonathan. And the biggest live event that we've got coming up probably is in Dallas, July 15th and 16th. Powur World. You can go to powur.com/world and get your ticket. If you haven't reserved that yet, there's a link to get a discount for a hotel room. So definitely the people who are in the room, and it's going to be limited. There isn't unlimited space available. But for the people who are in the room, they're definitely going to have an advantage for the tech rollouts that we're doing and the big announcements. So if you are serious about building your Powur business, you definitely want to be there for that. I know I will be there. I've already got my ticket scheduled and hotel scheduled for that. So if we could hear from some of you, what is something that worked this last week, a success story, a win? Go ahead and come off of mic. And I don't think we want a 5-minute story, but just a quick 30-second win that you had this last week.
I'll start. Dave Brown here, Portland, Oregon.
Unknown caller.
Just following up with customers, clients, potential clients, things like that. It's really important. Just had one that that I did a proposal back in October for, who called me up the other day. She's looking to get her roof done and looking to get solar at the same time. So got a proposal going out tonight.
Awesome. Awesome. Good job.
I can share one.
Perfect. Go for it.
Hi. Hi, everyone. Isela Bonada here down in California from our Powur office. So I actually followed up with a firefighter. That's my first responders is kind of like my key. And so I built a rapport with him, but I actually was competing against another Powur consultant, which I had no idea, but he was open. And because I built that rapport with him, you know, the trust with him, and also my brother's a firefighter. So I came in, I was open and candid with him. And so I did, you know, come down on the proposal, because on ADUs, we don't make much, but it's not about that. It's because I know he has other properties, and it's about building a relationship for future. So anyway, so I was able to win the bid. So anyway, so that's, yeah, so that's my fourth or fifth first responder that I've helped. So I appreciate that. So when you build that rapport, right, with your customer, then they open up to you. And so, and I was able to close that.
Let me know how that goes.
Awesome. Yeah, first responders are a great kind of community to get into. Good job.
I have a stuff.
Great.
Can you
Go
hear me?
ahead and share.
Okay, yeah. So I had a referral from Facebook a couple of days ago. They called me and they actually I did a proposal. We signed the contract signed. Right after contract signed, they was very excited. They ended up joining as a consultant. The following day, I had another friend of mine who closed escrow on his home. He was ready to get solar, so he signed docs, and he also joined as a consultant as well. And we've been fired up out here in the Bay Area.
Love it.
Let's go.
Convert in the Bay Area.
I got a couple wins to share.
Go for it.
So a couple wins. I had two new consultants come aboard down in the Tucson area. It's funny, I see one of them right there. Eddie's on here. He's been absolutely killing it. I love just how simple he's keeping it, just peeking and passing and kind of allowing me to, you know, guide him through the whole process. I feel a lot of people, when they join Powur, they just overcomplicate things. Another huge success and just reminder to everybody is Fortune's in the follow-up. I had a personal 6 weeks ago, believe it or not. I built him a proposal, called him, texted him literally every week. And finally this week he decided to meet and we ended up going solar. Or he decided to go solar as well. So just a quick reminder for everybody out there, Fortune's in the follow-up, and keep it simple.
Thanks, Robert. Do you have a second to just quickly explain peaking and passing?
Yeah, absolutely. So I know this is a little bit of training, but my background's from the network marketing background. And, you know, the biggest thing is really just edifying an expert and passing it off. So the training I used to do, if you imagine up here is the prospect, down here is you, and over here is the expert. Well, usually you always have the trust with the customer. They know you from work, a friend, family, something like that, but they maybe not respect you. And let me explain. They know you as their good friend or somebody they watch football with or go to the bar with, but they maybe not really respect you as a quote unquote business owner. Your job is just to edify the expert and say as little as possible. That's the biggest thing I train all my new reps is don't be an expert, because soon as you, even if you know the answer to the question, you answer one, well, now you're the expert and 50 come behind it. So I tell everybody the easiest way to handle any question or objection is I don't know. All I know is tell a story. Well, how much do these things cost? Look, I don't know. You know, you got to talk to Jonathan or Tom. They're the expert. All I know is I keep seeing him post how he's saving people $50, $100, $150 a month. And, you know, and not to touch on anybody's spiritual beliefs, but man, this system has worked all the way back to the Bible. Prophet's not welcome in his own hometown. All they did is went edified the other person, and then they just edified Jesus. So not to touch on anybody's spiritual belief, but man, if it worked for Christianity, pretty sure it's going to work for solar too. So
Thanks, Robert. Good format there to use.
thank you, Tom.
I've got a win I want to share.
Great, go for it.
Hey, by the way, great job, Robert. You're crushing it, absolute crushing it. I have, well, there's a couple of wins, but the one that I care to share is the most important one. Yesterday, I helped my younger brother, who got started about probably 5-6 weeks ago. I helped him close his first sale. So he's already got 2 recruits and he's got his first sale officially. So very proud of him, right? And I helped my wife last week recruit 4 people. And yeah, I closed a couple of deals last week, but most importantly, yesterday I helped my brother close his very first sale. We went to an in-person appointment in Los Angeles. I don't take very many appointments anymore, but I said, for you, we're going to go and we're going to close this deal. So we did. Frankly, I don't take hardly any appointments these days. But I'm very happy that we got him his first sale.
Keeping it in the family. Good stuff. Wife and brother.
I got some.
Proven seller. Go for it.
I got to win.
Let's hear it.
All right. I was out at an Earth Day San Diego Earth Fair and got numerous leads, and I got a lot of callbacks. So I'm going to get some solar consults from there. But I listened to JC's thing yesterday, and I'm going to have to get out of here because I'm going on a blitz, on my 90-day blitz. I'm starting with getting some information, try to get some Earth Day, Earth Month specials out. So that's my win. I got some more wins coming, and I'll be seeing you guys. I really got to go and start getting this stuff handed out. I only got a few more days till Saturday.
4 days left till midnight Pacific Saturday. Get her done.
So I'm out.
Thanks, man. One more win from the week.
I'll share, Tom.
Go ahead, Christopher.
Yeah, I attended a wedding over the weekend for my client. I installed a 16 kW. It's a backyard wedding. It's one of their nephews. The bartender had a unique situation and tough FICO score, but we got it approved for Mosaic the same Monday after the weekend, and got it closed within 2 days after just meeting him. So, coming from a client and then referral from that bartender that they invited from the wedding, I think that FICO score situation with Mosaic 2 days after meeting him was a win, and we got him approved. And his solar's coming up next week. Within 2 weeks, we're getting things done quicker in Vegas than any other market.
What kind of install time frame do you guys have in Vegas right now?
Averaging 2.5 weeks right now.
Pretty good. Pretty good. Thanks, Christopher. All right. Well, let's bring our panelists off mute. We have Janice, Jeff, Rick, and Bill, unless anyone else was able to sneak on here. Let me check real quick. Janice, ladies first, would you introduce yourself and maybe share what part of the country you live in and how long you've been working in solar, and if you're feeling brave, something that no one else knows about you probably.
Sure, yeah. So thanks for inviting me to be here. It's a little intimidating. I know there's a lot of really great people on this call, so hopefully something that I say will resonate. I live in San Diego. I have been here for 7 years. I started in solar about 5 years ago. Originally started in roofing. I know a lot about roofing, did that for a while, and then converted into solar. So I've been in the industry for about 5 years, have done in-home sales, physical roof inspections, all that good stuff. And then came in contact with Powur about 2 years ago. and then completely switched over about a year and a half ago. So I love it, was able to get out of in-home sales and start doing things virtually. Something that no one knows about me. There's a lot of things, Tom. Thanks for laughing, Jeff. Let's see. I don't know. I do play the piano if anyone would like a, private concert. Michelle knows.
We'll have to take you up on that, Janice.
Next,
I do trust.
Next mastermind, Rick will have a
He
piano.
is amazing behind the piano. Are you kidding me, girl?
At my next mastermind, that's going to be required of you, Janice, now that you mentioned it. So
Interesting.
I do have a piano.
Rick, you want to jump in next? Thanks, Janice.
Yeah, so let's see. Sorry, Jen. Rick Joseph. I live in San Luis Obispo. I've been in solar for about 14 years. And let's see, something that nobody knows about me. Well, I got recruited to play college basketball, but then I got into sales instead. So sales took me away from my passion of basketball back when I was in college, and never really looked back since. So I've been in sales pretty much my entire adult life, and it's done well for me. Like I said, I started at Sunrun or REC Solar in 2008 and transitioned into Sunrun, and then took a couple of years off and got back in with Powur. Basically, it was the culture of Powur that really kind of drew me back in. Having been through the solar coaster all of those years with REC and Sunrun, it wasn't exactly easy to get back on after working in a corporate culture like that. I think it was really the culture of Powur that spoke to me of really leaning in and being on your own and intrinsic motivation. So yeah, I'm here on purpose. So I welcome you all, and I'm so happy to be with the Powur family. So
thank you, Rick. Jeff, jump in here.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Thank you, Tom, for having me. Truly an honor to be here speaking with all you guys. So I've been with Powur for about a little over 6 months now. So fairly new, kind of new to the game. Had no solar experience whatsoever before. So prior to Powur, I was with Verizon Wireless for about 8 years, did some management, business sales. And then some of you guys don't know this, but I've known Jonathan Brunasso for about 8 years now. And I was seeing his success on social media. So I kind of reached out to him a couple months ago and just wanted to grab lunch with him and just kind of pick his brain, see what's he doing like with solar, why is he so successful? And so knowing the solar salesperson he is, he closed me on my house that same lunch meeting. So after that, I kind of fell in love with the whole process. I love being able to help homeowners save money while making a huge commission check, probably the biggest I've ever seen in sales besides real estate. But so sorry, off tangent, but I'm from Chino Hills, California. And one thing you guys don't know about me, I used to run a window tinting business. I did automotive and residential window tinting for about 5 years. So that's a little fun fact about me.
My wife and I both got tent tickets on the same day.
Oh, jeez.
Same day.
That's unfortunate.
There was a tent campaign going on, I guess, ticketing campaign. So yeah.
Sorry to hear that, Tom. Sorry to hear.
It's okay. Bill Conley.
Yes, good morning. Bill Conley from Stockton, California. Honored to be here. I've known Tom for a little while now before Powur. So I got here through Tom. Been in the solar business for about 8 years. I think I can almost say one thing not too many people know is that I did one of the very first megawatt installations in Northern California for when they went, they allowed aggregation, meter aggregation, NEM-A, 27 meters we did for a system, and talk about a building nightmare with the utility company. It was a lot of months of going through pain and agony for the customer. but I'm happy to have transitioned to Powur. It's probably in my life's work the best thing I've ever done. I have to say that Powur is the company that I really want to finish my days with. Delighted to be here. Thanks, Tom.
Thank you, Bill. That says a lot because you've done a lot of things in your career. So pleasure to be working with you and the rest of our panelists as well, side by side. So I've got some questions, and then you panelists can kind of jump in and share, how you would respond to this question. These are all questions that that I have been asked, or that people have submitted, or that people, a few of them are things that people should ask, even if they haven't. When you have a lead that comes in, is there anything that you try to find out from that homeowner before you present to them?
Yes.
Yeah, I can. Oh, go ahead, Rick.
Oh, sorry, Jeff. Absolutely. So let me start by saying, you really want to have an organic conversation with them, and you want to ask open-ended questions, and you want to get their why. Why are they looking into solar? So once you ask that, there's certain open-ended questions that you can ask. Have you looked into solar before? What's prompted you to look into solar? These types of things are open-ended questions. And so rather than going down a checklist and checking boxes, I tend to ask open-ended questions. And what I'm trying to get at is, is what is their motivation? And then through that motivation, I can design a system, right? Along that, the boxes that I do check are, do they have a preference for certain equipment? Do they have a cash versus financing leaning, right? Just on the cash versus financing, I think what's important is, a lot of times we'll present both options, but in having that conversation, if they're leaning one way, that's kind of the way you push. I try to find out, if they're, how long they've been in the house, little things I can find out about the house, obviously all these little things. But again, I think the main takeaway is having an organic conversation and asking open-ended questions, and then resisting the urge to talk. As salespeople, we like to talk. But in this case, we want to find out as much. The goal is to find out as much about the homeowner. And if you're silent, they'll tell you more than as much as you need to know, really. And a lot of times, if you build that rapport, what I try to get, if I can get a competitive quote, if it's a competitive situation, I feel like we're in a huge advantage if we can get that competitive quote ahead of time. And that comes from building the rapport. So after a 10 to 15 minute discovery call, a lot of times the customer will say, well, I got a quote from SolarMax or whatever, and they'll send it to you. And once you get that, you win, right? Because then we can reverse engineer everything. We know exactly where we need to be. So that's kind of one of the tactics that I take, is to build that rapport to the point where if it is a competitive deal, that they feel comfortable enough with me to give me the competitive proposal, and then it's over at that
point. So just to piggyback on Rick, so a couple of things that I like to ask for, things like, is there anything that's going to affect their energy usage, like in the future? Things like, are they planning on building a pool in the backyard? Any electric vehicles that they might add to the house in the next couple of years? And if they are going to get an electric vehicle, how many miles are they going to drive annually? So those are all things that I like to ask homeowners before I present to them. Are there anyone moving in or out of the house in the near future? And also one thing I like to ask is, this past summer, I always ask this question, but this past summer, did you use your air condition very freely or very conservatively? Because a lot of people use, especially in here in California, a lot of people use their AC very conservatively because Edison rates are just insane out here. So knowing that information, then I can build a proper size system so that they can live more comfortably after going solar. So a few nuggets there.
I guess I have a couple of things to say about this too. So I used to do a separate discovery call, and it's a case by case, but I have been experimenting with combining my discovery call. And I know there's different thoughts on this with leading into a proposal, but I do leave like a solid 15 minutes for that, whether it's like the day before or during. I want to hear as much as they want to tell me about what they want to tell me. So in the homeowner slide deck, something that has been working, surprising, I was resistant to combining the two as one, but I'm trying to be really efficient in my time. But I just have that slide up like with questions. And I don't even really necessarily ask, but other than just saying, you know, what resonates, like, what do you want to talk about? And I just kind of leave and sit on that. And then they kind of will say, oh yeah, this, and this. So I'm, you know, talking less, but there is the visual, the pain points and the things that are important to them. They suddenly just tell me. And I know I used to do it separately with a full discovery call. But I am experimenting and I'm liking the results of having one meeting with time for discovery before I go to the proposal.
Interesting, Janice. We do have. Well,
Thank
you're
you, Rick.
experimenting with it.
Thank you.
Whatever works.
I'm an
I mean,
expert.
There's no right or wrong way to do it. There's no right or wrong way to do it. If that works for you, that works for you, Janice.
I'll put my glasses on so you take me seriously.
There you go. Wow, Janice.
Okay.
Anyways, what I was going to say is we actually have a list. Tom, maybe you could post it in the chat. We have a list of discovery call questions. If you're a newbie to solar, this is kind of a good resource to have. So every time you get on a discovery call, we have a list of about, 20, 25 questions that we can kind of milk into the conversation as we go. So Tom, if you get a chance, if you could post that for everybody, the discovery call question list. The other point I want to make, I see Brunasso put it on there about building for the future with electric vehicles. I think that that's a really relevant conversation today, especially with the oil prices and the spikes and so forth. So one of the good questions these days is, do you have an electric vehicle? And you just kind of listen. And most people will say, no, but I plan on getting one. It's almost kind of, it's very commonplace now that people will say, I'm looking into it, right? So now, Mr. Customer, rather than just building the system for your needs, what we're going to do is we're going to design this for the next 20 years, right? We're going to take a long-term approach. So now you're selling bigger systems, right? You're getting the buy-in. They're saying, okay, we are going to look at an electric vehicle in the next couple of years because the gas prices are spiking. So now you're selling at 120, 130, 140% of their current offset. So this may be a conversation that you're having with them that another rep is not. So again, it's worthwhile, especially with what's going on today with gas prices and so forth, to have that sidebar conversation about electric vehicles in depth. Because everybody agrees with it.
Yeah, I posted a link to our training that Jonathan, Desi, and I did on September 1st for discovery, for presenting, and the slide deck as well. So related to this, what does, for our panelists, what does a presentation look like for you? And is there any agenda that you want to make sure that you follow for every presentation?
I would say for newer people, it's good to have a model sales call and have, there's a slide deck that we have as well. And again, Tom, do you want to be able to, can you post that slide deck that we have? Okay, so we have that to go off of. And it's a good starting point if you want a regimented approach. For me personally, having done this for as long as I have, I kind of like to just have organic conversations. I don't want it to feel like a sales call. I'll present, the savings and so forth, or, the equipment, but I really kind of want to let the customer have time to speak, and I want it to feel like an organic conversation. And I take an anti-sales approach. It's really, really heavily educational. But again, that's just me. I think if you're newer to solar, I think it's following the deck that Tom will post here, is a good lead in for everybody.
For myself, since I'm pretty new to the industry, I always present a slide deck prior to the proposal, just so that they know a little bit about myself. I cover the company, a little bit about Powur, our warranty, equipment, what the Edison bill or utility bill will look like prior and after going solar. I like to just educate the customer about the whole process as well. So I know a lot of veterans on here might not need the slide deck. They just have, referrals coming in left and right. But for me, someone so new to the industry, I think following a slide deck every presentation works well for me.
It's like training wheels. And once you get good enough riding the bike, the training wheels, it's nice to know that they're there, but you don't really need them. That these model sales calls and so forth are meant as a guidepost. And then eventually you kind of steer away from them, but it's nice to know that to have them. And the closest thing we have to a model sales call is the slide deck, which actually works pretty nicely. I think Tom and Jonathan both posted it. So you guys should all have that. What I would do, everybody, is just download that and keep it on a file on your desk. And then use it appropriately.
I would like to add to that, just that I agree. Sometimes if someone was to watch me do a presentation, which I hate being observed doing a presentation, some of you know that, but it may look as though, wow, she's, not all over the place, but it doesn't seem as though I'm following a script. But I would actually, I am really specific in what I do and what I want to hit on. And I know what those are, and I know what the order is that I want to do it. But I try as much as possible to have it be organic. And one thing that I learned in a sales training a while ago, and it always stuck to me, was when a homeowner does go off on a tangent, we'll call it a tangent, wanting to be heard. I specifically don't address whatever their concern is in that moment if it's going to take me off of the presentation I want to give in the time that I want to do. But I do acknowledge the question, like, that's a great question. We're going to get to that. I'm going to cover that so I can get back on track. And it's not like you're shut down, but oh yeah, I totally agree. Definitely going to touch on that. And then I try to get back on the rails just so it doesn't go all over. Just since I'm a chatty person, and that's honestly for me sometimes just to keep the time to where I want it to be and keep the focus where I want it to be. So I personally don't go down rabbit holes that I can't get out of. And then every time I have skipped the steps, I wish I didn't. I guess I would say that if I just like, oh, they know enough about solar, I don't need to just go over the basics. Oh yeah, they're telling me they've had 10 proposals, blah, blah, blah. And I skip what I want to tell them about what I know about solar. At the end, they throw up a question where I think, oh man, I wish I had covered that exactly the way. Like, I think effective systems are great to follow. If you want to disguise them as a conversation, but to know what works and not reinvent the wheel, like just this person does it. This is like there's a lot of experts on here, but this works for this person. Why does it work? Okay, I'm going to follow that. Duplicate, duplicate, duplicate.
Yeah, I tend to use a slide deck every time, just to make sure that I'm staying on task and on point. As much as possible to develop that relationship. It's all about having a relationship with the customer. And so you do that through asking questions, as Rick said, open-ended questions, and getting to the meat of the matter. I like to find out before I propose where they are financially. I'm not going to show them a cash proposal if I determine that they don't have the money for it, through asking questions, and unless they specifically, I want to see a cash price, because it just adds to confusion. Now, some people want to see it both ways, and that's fine, but I would be more comfortable trying to get that information through a discovery process first, so I could propose the right solution for them.
Yeah, I think one of the things that one of the mistakes that I have made is if they're a friend of mine or a family member, I haven't followed my agenda. I just kind of wing it. It's more conversational, and we get to talking and I leave stuff out, and then they get to the end and they still have questions. So I have found that it's always helpful to have an agenda and do the same thing every single time. JC and Jonathan were leaving some good nuggets in the chat as well around that. For our panelists, other than the solo proposal and the Powur slide deck that I put the link to a couple times in the chat, are there any other resources or articles that you consistently use in your presentation or that you've added to the presentation?
I just think it's important, especially with what we have with the solar insurer, to show that every time, right? It's a huge advantage. So a lot of times if I'm sending a proposal, I'm making sure I'm sending the solar insurer, I'm sending the spec sheets on the panels, on the inverter. I may even send a link about power and the PVC and so forth. We actually have some pretty good resources around all that. So Tom, do you want to post again some of these, or at least let's tell people where we can find the spec sheets on knowledge base and so forth. So what I do is I have a desktop folder, and I have all these, the spec sheets and so forth already opened in my folder. So if I'm presenting REC group panels, I can quickly pivot to that and talk about that. But again, I always stress that the solar insurer warranty, that's kind of a differentiator. Be knowledgeable about your product.
Yes, I have to echo that, because solar insurer, in my opinion, is a game changer, and should be looked at as such. The fact that very few companies are eligible to be able to provide it means that we don't have a lot of competition in the marketplace. I've never seen any other company offering it, but to be able to offer people a 30-year parts and labor warranty in anybody's been in this business for any amount of time knows that it's not a matter of when you have a problem, it's a matter of not if you have a problem, it's a matter of when you have a problem. You're going to have issues with your system. So if you've got a warranty that covers parts and labor, shipping included, all the way from soup to nuts on the entire system, you really have to sell that. And it does sell. It means a lot more than the adder cost that's included on our proposal.
100%. I think in our solar insurer presentation with the rep, I think he said that only 5% of the companies in the country offer it. So you're probably not going to run into it. So the whole thing about sales is find out where your advantage is and lean on that. And obviously solar insurer is one of our main advantages at this point.
One thing that I use for every presentation, besides obviously the slide deck and the proposal, is it's called Google Project Sunroof. So I put the link in the chat. So pretty much you can, when I'm in front of the homeowner, I type in their address right in front of them on my computer, and it pulls up their house and it shows their entire roof, and it shows which area of their roof has the best sunlight, the best sun exposure. And then I just pretty much, I tell them that I'm gonna design their system with the panels in the best locations based off this website statistics showing. So I use it every single time. It kind of makes me feel like more of a professional if I show them that. That way they know that I'm, building the right system for their best interest. So I put that link in the chat. It's Google Project Sunroof.
Beautiful.
Thanks, Jeff. Another question for the panel. If the homeowner wants financing, is there one option that you tend to lead with every time, or do you change it up based on discovery, what you find out?
I think you nailed it. Change it up based on discovery.
Yeah.
You're going to find out, if they have good credit and they're definitely looking for lowest payment, then I know the Sunlight 1.49 is going to be about the lowest it's going to go. If they have any kind of credit issues or so forth, Mosaic is a safe place to go. We don't want to just lead with Mosaic on bad credit, but I lead generally, if all things being equal, I will lead with Mosaic for a number of reasons. They have the least amount of steps, they have the highest approval rate. So it's generally between Mosaic and Sunlight for those reasons, but I think you nailed it though, Tom. It's really asking those questions on the discovery call and figure out at that point and lean into that.
There's so many finance options, as you guys know, look into the proposal. So I like to just keep it simple. I usually just go with 3. It's the 25-year 149, 10-year 574, no dealer fees or cash. And then I literally just ask questions. Are you trying to look for the lowest possible monthly payment? Are you trying to get the best ROI? So just by asking those questions, you can kind of figure out which option is best. And sometimes I'll just give them both options. I'll send an email after the presentation. Here's both options. Let me know which one works best for you. So that's how I do it.
We do have, 160 different options or something right now. So we want to make sure to not create analysis paralysis. So, Usually 3 is at the most, right? Even really 2 is what I usually do, is just a cash and a 25-year 1.49. So looking for lowest payment, right to the 25-year 1.49. If they're looking for immediate ROI or long-term ROI, then I go cash. But I try not to even go in the middle with the 10 or a 15 unless they specifically have a need for it and they express it.
Yeah, and to be fair, one of the questions to ask in the discovery process is, do you have any intentions on, or what are your, what's your feeling about staying in your house? How long do you intend to stay where you are? Some people, we're leaving in 3 years. My husband gets transferred every 3 years or whatever. You're going to put a lot of, dealer charge on there for a low rate if that's all they're after. If you can show them that, look, if it's going to be 5 years or more, I think you could tend to always pick the lowest rate, highest fee solution. But if there's a, there are times when you would want to maybe moderate that. Rick, don't you think?
No, 100%. And just so you guys know, there's also there's a 25-year with no fee as well. Did you guys know that? I believe it's 25 years, 6.99%. I actually sold it a couple weeks ago. So if it's somewhere between lowest payment and they're not going to stay in the house too long, and 25 years is a nice option as well. So it's just a matter of being knowledgeable about what options are out there. And like you said, Bill, just figuring that out on the discovery call and then fitting that specific option for them.
Oh, you're on mute, Tom.
Jonathan had a good comment in the chat that he always says cash discount. It doesn't get hung up on dealer fees.
Right.
So that was one of the questions that came up at our last roundtable is, how do you navigate, talking about dealer fees? So Jonathan just sidesteps that and says cash discount.
So what you do in terms of presenting it, you're always presenting the financing first and then the cash. So then you can make it look like you structure that in the conversation. And here's the price, here's the cash discount. So definitely.
Yeah, and when you're presenting in Zoom, remember that you can pause the screen share and that you can scroll down on Solo and you can change financing. You can change it to cash, you can change it to a different financing option. So that's one of the advantages of getting a homeowner talking is that, while they're talking, you can be making changes on the fly, whether it's taking out a main panel upgrade, putting one in, putting in a battery, doing all kinds of things on the fly. It's pretty easy to do.
On that note, you guys know that on the live dynamic proposal, you can scroll the bar from 5 years, 10 years, 15, 20, and show the avoided cost of power. So is everybody familiar with that? So if you're doing a live Zoom presentation, and let's say the delta is only $50 a month or $25 a month, you could show them that over time that delta of savings gets greater and greater, even with just a 3% or 4% rate of rise in the utility. So it's worth noting because sometimes people get stuck on, well, really not saving that much, but you kind of start to paint the picture of it's about savings over time. And the dynamic proposal is really effective for that as we click that bar to 5, 10, 15, 20 years.
Yeah, on the next question, Rick has to go last. Okay, so, but I do want to hear from everyone else. What do you think is your biggest advantage, or collectively our biggest advantages with Powur? So talking to a homeowner, what's the advantage of going with Powur?
I can go first. For me, I like to tell homeowners that with Powur, I'm a independent, solar consultant, and I work for myself. This is my business. I don't work for a company. This is my company. So I like to tell them that, a lot of solar consultants out there and other companies, they tend to just close a deal and you'll never hear from them again. There's no follow-up. There's no from start to finish. They just literally close the deal and on to the next one. And I tell them, you won't get that from me. You'll get me from day one until the last day, and even further on that. Let's build a relationship. This is my business. I treat it it's very important to me that you're well taken care of from start to finish. And I just let them know that I'm different than most consultants, because you will hear from me throughout the whole entire process. So
I can, didn't mean, are you done, Jeff?
I'm done. Go ahead, Janice. I'm done.
So I feel like it's the complete package, and that actually ties into the presentation and everything, right? Like having done this so many times with people, it seems like it's the same concerns, and we happen to have this perfect situation where we're hitting all of them. We're nationwide company, but with locally vetted installers. So there's the big, we can support you, and we're also driving business locally. Equipment, we have the best equipment, hands down, REC or other brands, but Enphase. So we have equipment, check. Warranty, solar insured, check. We've got that. You have friends, we have an ambassador program, check. So we're hitting, like, in my view, it's like every box is checked, and what makes it better. And then the icing on the cake is, oh, you've also got me personally, or Jeff, or all of us caring and following up, and there's a project manager. And a secret thing that I love now is, or not secret, but like my close that people seem to love too, is this Powur app. Like, you actually have real communication, or you can, and it's in your hand, and communication is kind of like the icing on the cake. But if you're hitting nationwide, best panels, best pricing, all of these options, it's like it's not a trifecta, but it's something like that.
And then if you also add on the culture of the company too, I think that if you add, what Powur is about, and the fact that we really are, blessed to be in an environment that is all about creating value for the homeowner and true environmental change across the board, that is our ethos. That means a lot, I think, to a lot of people. You don't have to get, too pushy and try and establish any, stake any claims, but I think you can always talk about, what Powur is about.
Yeah, agreed. Well, you guys took all of the main points that I always use as the advantages, but I just want to frame it, how I frame it to the customer is I tell the customer, look, when you're buying solar, there's really only three things you're looking at. You're looking at price, you're looking at equipment, and you're looking at warranty, right? That's it. Throw everything else out, it boils down to those three things. If you're choosing solar between me and somebody else, it's those three things. I know I can win on price because I control the price. I know I can win on warranty because no one's going to be 30 years, and I know I can win on equipment, right? So if you really boil it down to that, we have all the tools to win every single deal every time. Because the three things that everybody buys solar based on, we win hands down against the competition on every one of them. And then to echo Bill's points, where you spend your money matters, right? Especially if you're going against like a Sunrun, my God. Okay, so Mr. Customer, we vote with our dollars every day. So did you know that Powur is a PBC, Public Benefit Corporation, and a portion of our proceeds for every sale goes to reforestation in the Amazon. We go to build homes in Mexico for underprivileged families. It's really a heart-centered company versus, okay, you can go with Sunrun. Guess where that money gets funneled up to? Some dude in the Hamptons is going to buy a bigger yacht next summer because because of that, right? So again, voting with your dollars. So once you make it make sense in terms of price, equipment, warranty, and then you follow up the back end with the Feel Good Public Benefit Corporation, seriously, there's no reason to ever lose a head-to-head deal. There really isn't. We have all the tools to win every single time.
Good. Jeff, I got a question for you. You're kind of the new kid on the block here on the panel with Powur. How many deals have you closed since you started with Powur? And do you have any social media or ambassador tricks that you could share with us?
Yeah, absolutely. Since I've started since last October, November-ish, it's been 6 months. Last week I just closed my 18th deal. One of them out of the 18, one of them is a commercial project that I'm working with Lorenzo on. But yeah, so 18 deals closed so far. To be honest with you, all of my deals have come from social media. And of course, my SOI sphere of influence, but mainly social media. And for me, I like to post almost every single day. If you guys follow me, like, it gets kind of annoying sometimes, but I mean, I think if you're not if your friends that follow you aren't like annoyed by your solar post, then you're not posting enough. That's kind of how I see it. And then you want the haters, you want people DMing you like, dude, that's enough solar. Like, and like, I love that because that means I'm posting just the right amount. So I'm always posting stuff on social media, Instagram, Facebook. I'm trying to get more into LinkedIn, but so far it's Instagram and Facebook. But anything solar related, it'll be like a project that, install day or just benefits of going solar. Sometimes if you follow other people that's in Powur, you can just repost their stories. Why not? Like I'll take stuff from like Cynthia or JB, Jonathan, or Luis Perez. Anthony Bonilla. I'll take their videos and put on my social media just so they can help me out, which, I'm not sure they probably don't mind, but yeah, so that's really my success so far is just social media. And I'm always talking solar, like anywhere I go, like if I go out to dinner, I meet someone that, brand new, I'm always letting them know that I'm in the solar industry. Ambassador program, we have $1,000. So it's just, you just have to just live and breathe solar, and these leads will just start flowing in left and right. It's crazy, but yeah, that's
Are most of your leads that are coming in, are they stuff that you're generating yourself off of social, or are you starting to get some ambassador leads coming in too?
A little bit of both. I would say definitely a little bit of both, but I would say more of just when I post stuff on social media, people just DM me and tell me that, hey, I have an aunt that is looking for solar, please reach out to her. Or I have a friend, or my mom wants solar, or my neighbor is looking for solar. It's crazy that, that you posted that. They were just talking about it last week. So I'm getting just more leads that way rather than ambassadors.
Okay. I take it you're signing them up as an ambassador when they reach out to you like that, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I always thank them for the lead and just let them know, by the way, just because you gave me that referral, you will get paid out, $1,000 once the deal closes. So get them more excited to give me more leads.
Yeah, Tom, I like to highlight the ambassador program. I've got 2 leads yesterday came in from ambassadors. So I can't say enough about it. I mean, if I can't figure out a way to give $1,000 to somebody, with the margins that we have, then I shouldn't be in this business. But it really is a super advantage to be able to leverage the ambassador program.
What are some ways that you all create urgency? Because some people want to think about it for 6 months, right? So how do you get them to the point of making a decision?
Well, right now, there's never been a more robust climate for that with NEM 2.0, right, in California. With the supply chain issues, I try to give them a macro level view of what's going on. And typically in the solar, there in certain cycles of the year, if you're selling in winter, one of the things is, now is the best time to buy solar because the prices are so low because we need to keep our crews busy, right? So that would be a winter urgency. Spring urgency is, okay, you understand that the solar produces twice as much in the summer as in the winter. If you sign up now, you're going to get installed in time for summer, so you can get all your peak harvest season in, so that you can make up, your deficit months. So that's a spring urgency. Summer urgency, you really don't need. That's when people are buying solar the most. Fall urgency is end of the year tax time. So depending on the time of the year that you're selling solar, there's different plays for urgency. But again, right now, there's never been a more urgent call with NEM 3.0, supply chain issues, prices going up, all that stuff. So I tend to have organic conversations laying out, even before we even get into the quote, I tell them what's going on in the industry. So I'm planting the seeds of urgency early on for them to act.
I guess I agree with all of that. And I would add, the urgency really is just tied into their pain point, right? If of their why do they want to go solar? So it's not even, I mean, yes, urgency, like do it now, but I feel like if I've done a good job solving their problem, whatever they perceive it to be, that they hate the utility, that they want to crank the AC and stop arguing as a couple, whatever their little problem is, what they hate, if I've solved it, it's kind of like, well, does this solve the problem? Yeah. And if they're comfortable, then they'll make the choice with whether there's like whether they know about the supply chain issues, although I have like ultimately had to say, do you guys know? But if I've solved the problem that they think they have and they're comfortable, and I've checked all these points, it kind of happens organically.
I'll add on to that just briefly. One of the best questions I ever heard was to ask when getting to that point of decision making. Well, do you have enough information now to make a decision? And just be quiet. And if they don't,
That's a great soft close.
Drop the mic.
Yeah, yeah. And he who speaks first loses, right?
Yeah. It's good.
No, I know. So not to say this again too, but like that last slide, and I know Jonathan Brunasso does this, and it's interesting. It's like the no close or like no urgency. Like you've got these two choices, like kind of like what we're all saying. Like you either stick with what you're doing, keep complaining, or you could go solar. And then like that's it. Like they choose. So
What do you all do as a part of your follow-up? Do you have like a CRM? Do you have a schedule? What does an email look like that you follow up with if you don't sign it right there? What do you do after the presentation?
Are you talking to close or customers that have been closed? And
Follow up after something doesn't close right then.
So I think the first and most important point in that is to get the customer to agree to a time frame of follow-up. So Mr. Customer, you know, if we talk again next Wednesday, does that work for you? You know, well, typically weekends are better. Okay, how about if I call you next Saturday morning at 10 o'clock, right? So getting them to commit to a time, finding out what their time frame is, and then getting them to commit to putting something on the books for the follow-up. And then in terms of follow-up in general, you want to kind of balance that where you're aggressive enough, but you're not pissing them off, right? So there's an art to that, right? You're following up enough that there's still, and I tell people this too, look, I'm going to follow up with you. So I don't want to pester you, but I will follow up, and that's just me doing my job professionally. And then, you know, getting them to commit to a time. So those would be my takeaways on that.
I have a Google Sheets document that I created with all my every single homeowner I've talked to. I put on that document. It's almost like an Excel sheet, I guess. And then every single time I speak with them, or I always timestamp it, date, what was covered, and then from there I can see like when was the last time I spoke with that homeowner. And I usually give about I don't know, 3 to 5 days, sometimes less, to do a follow up. And every time after a presentation, I always email them the proposal, a little recap of what we went through, all the numbers kind of typed out, and just, you know, any other questions, please let me know. So always an email after every presentation for me.
To piggyback on that, Jeff, Tom, maybe you want to post this as well. We have a really nice email template that we send out that Tom actually put together that I've been using for the last, I don't know, 6 months or so. So after I do the presentation, I send this template out, and I'll switch the template if it's different equipment or so forth. But it highlights the summary of what you've proposed. There's a notes section where I'll kind of modify it specifically for this particular customer. Then it talks about Powur as a company, and then I send the attachment. So I do that every single time. I don't have to reinvent the wheel. I just use a template and I modify it. So I don't know, Tom, if you have that handy, if you want to kind of post that in the chat as well. I think it's a really handy tool for everybody to use to have the template.
Yeah, I'll share the current one in the Facebook group later on. I've actually got templates for all of our equipment mixes that has links to those spec sheets in it. So when I follow up with someone, I just, you know, select whatever template matches their equipment and add in a little bit of extra stuff in there.
I was going to say, I see Jonathan put his, that's what I use now. I used to write an essay, guys, a literal essay. I was an English teacher, and I would just send paragraphs and paragraphs, super emotional. And then one day Jonathan was like, what the hell are you doing? Like, so I switched it. I'm like, who wants these bullet points? It's like everybody. So that's been really helpful. It's like, here's the basics. I don't have to make it so emotional. So for sure, a template is helpful. And that's what I send now.
And one of the tools that I use is Mixmax, and they have a free version. It's a Chrome extension that integrates with Gmail. So when I send a follow-up email, I can set a reminder follow-up for myself to call them, to text them, or to send another email. And it also notifies me when they open my email. So I can see when they open my email, the next night, and I can text them to say, hey, I was just, thinking about you after our presentation last night. And that's while they're reading my email. So I've had people say, oh, I took it as a sign that right when I opened your email, you sent me a text message at the same time. So maybe I should just go with you.
Tom, you have all the hacks. You're the hack king, brother.
All right, well, we are at the hour. Last question. Do you have any advice that you would give to people who are new to selling solar? Is there one nugget that you would share with them?
I can answer that real quick. I would say for anyone new to solar, just come into this game as acting like a sponge. So what I mean by that is just absorb all the knowledge from any aspect, whether it's YouTube training, our Zoom trainings every Monday, Tuesdays. And also one more thing is, you guys all know that, you got to close 3 deals with a mentor, right? Before you can move on. When I came in here, I didn't want to learn from just one mentor. So I learned from like 5 different mentors. I remember I was like, who are the top 5 mentors in the company? And I reached out to all of them and said, hey, I have a deal for you. Would you be able to mentor this deal for me? So I reached out to Jonathan Brunasso, Chris Brunasso, Cynthia, Jerry McAllister, Paul Leon, Anthony Bonilla, Luis Perez. So I just gained information from all these top mentors, and because everyone sells differently, everyone has their own style. So I wanted to learn from every single one of them and just, hand select what I liked about each one and just pretty much just customize into my own style, I would say. So I would say don't focus on just one mentor and closing 3 deals with one mentor. Reach out to like multiple mentors and learn from the best in this industry. And also just be patient and trust the process. A lot of times you won't close a deal for a month or 2, and just don't give up. A lot of people come and they go just because they get discouraged, right? So just trust the system. You will get that first deal. And once you close that first deal, that deal will give you two or 3 referrals, and then just so on and so forth. So the business will start coming in slowly. Just be patient.
So beyond the obvious of learning your craft, I think it's really important early on to develop your why, right? When you develop your why, you could put your heart into it. And when you put your heart into it, you gain conviction. And conviction is what sells, right? So even if sometimes you don't know as much about the product as you would like, if you come across with conviction and confidence, that's the energy that the buyer picks up on, right? So it's layers. Learning your craft is just the basics. At some point, you got to learn it all. And then developing your why, putting your heart into it and learning that conviction. When I sell 100% on conviction, right? These people know that I know that I'm behind the product that I sell. I think that's simple and basic, but very effective.
Take massive action. Again, that's it.
Well, I'll just finish. My advice would just be kind of what Robert Hollis said at the beginning, which is don't overcomplicate it. It feels overwhelming. There's so many things that you don't know. I've been in it for years. We all have, and there's still things like, oh, I haven't run across that. So I would say tap into the mentors. And like Jeff said too, don't just, hit the minimum. You're going to learn from everyone. So don't overcomplicate it and connect with people who can always be teaching.
And we're always learning too, right? Even the mentors on this call here, we're all still learning. I mean, 14 years later, 14 years later, I'm still learning. Every customer is my teacher. And one thing I'll leave you with as well, sometimes we'll get really difficult customers. You kind of want those, especially at the beginning, people that ask a million questions, engineers, attorneys. At the time, you're pulling your hair out, but those are our teachers. Those are those challenges that make us learn the most, that stretch us out of our comfort zone. So don't shy away from those customers. Even though they're frustrating when it's happening, you'll look back and like, wow, I learned this customer forced me to learn my game. So
And Rick, just to follow up on that, the harder the customer, the better referral they are usually, because everybody knows that about them. Oh, this guy is so picky, and if he shows you, then I don't even have to ask you questions. I'm just going to sign up.
Yeah, the marketing term is they're the maven, right, in their
Yeah.
neighborhood. So like, oh, if you sold to Jill, wow, you must be really good because she's a hard ass, right? So yeah, they typically tend to be the most referral friendly for sure. Good point, Bill. 100%.
Well, thank you, everyone. If you are wanting some more training today, the Solar Sales Tuesday is at noon Pacific today, and the topic of that is adders in Solo. So Irene and Charles are both going to be on there walking through some adders training. PowerCalendar.com is where you can get the link to join that Zoom. I want to invite everyone to come off of mute and thank Janice, Jeff, Rick, and Bill, our panelists today. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.
Great class. Thank you, guys.
Glad to be
Thanks,
here.
y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Enjoyed it.
Gracias.
Thank you
guys.
So grateful.
Did great.